Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the S Pen Pro. This was announced at the beginning of 2021 around the same time as the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and of course was released around, well, right next to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3. Can this S Pen truly do what they're saying? Can this be a Pro S Pen? Because up to this point, we had a few generations of S Pen. We have one that comes in with a Tab S7 Plus, one that comes in with the S21 Ultra, and one that comes in with the Galaxy Z Fold 3. And then they released this one. Today, I'm going to share with you guys and of course review it with the Note 20 Ultra, the S21 Ultra, the Tab S7 Plus, as well as the Galaxy Z Fold 3. This is TK. Let's go ahead and talk about the S Pen Pro. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So what do we get in the package here? It's pretty standard. We get the S Pen, we get a carrying case, and that's pretty much it. We have a few replaceable tips and a small instruction manual. For the most part, the functionalities here are very straightforward. We have a dedicated button to initiate the functionalities of the S Pen, but we also have a pairing button that's right behind it. The actual pen is charged via USB-C, and that's basically removing the cap at the top and plugging it into a charger, and you're able to charge it externally. This does not charge through a device, so no conductive charging or anything. This has to be charged via wire. Now, as far as functionalities, we have two modes on here. There's the Z Fold mode intended for the Galaxy Z Fold 3, and the S Pen mode that's intended for everything else that you're going to be using. The one thing I will say is that this and the S Pen that was released with the Galaxy Z Fold are the only two that are intended to be used on the Z Fold, because if you try to use any other S Pen, let's say the one from the S21 Ultra, or even the one from the Tab S7 Plus, it's not going to work and it'll give you a warning. Also, you're potentially going to be damaging your device. The reason behind that is the tip on the S Pen Pro and the Z Fold S Pen are retractable, meaning if you push on the display, it actually goes back into the pen, preventing it from puncturing the actual display. So there's a little bit of a thing that you need to know. But the reason why this is a Pro S Pen, it's because this matches the functionalities that we see with the S21 Ultra, the Tab S7 Plus, and it also works with, let's say, the Note 20 Ultra if you have a device like that. Although there's a few caveats. So I'm going to actually, let's go one by one and talk about each one and how the experiences are. So the first thing we'll start off is the the S21 Ultra. The S Pen that was released with that one actually is pretty much the same S Pen that was released with the Tab S7 Plus. The functionalities are pretty straightforward. There's one button. It does basically not necessarily need to be charged, so that's one thing to be aware of. Well, this one, the S Pen Pro, does need to be charged. The functionalities that we get with the standard S Pen that was released with the S21 Ultra is straightforward. You have to get it closer to the display will recognize it, but there's no Bluetooth connectivity, meaning some of the functions that we saw with the Note 20 Ultra, the ability of basically gesturing and using it like a magic wand, are not present there because there is no Bluetooth radios. So that's the biggest difference here. The S Pen Pro brings in the Note 20 Ultra's functionality of the S Pen to the S21 Ultra, and that's really the main benefit here. The downside, of course, is that the S Pen is a little bit bigger than the one that comes for the S21 Ultra, and you can't really carry it with that. So this has to be carried separately. So that's pretty much how we're getting it on the S21 Ultra. Let's flip over to, let's say, the Tab S7 Plus. The Tab S7 Plus, as I mentioned, uses the same S Pen as the S21 Ultra, and for the most part, very much the same experience, with the exception of that the pen for the Tab S7 Plus does actually get charged. Because of that, because we are able to conductive charging on the back of the Tab S7 Plus, there's a few extra functionalities, but we still don't have Bluetooth functionalities. So this is where the S Pen Pro takes it even to the next level. We get the same functionality of switching modes, zooming in, taking screenshots. All of the things that we can do with the Note 20 Ultra's S Pen now are functional on our Tab S7 Plus. Still, same situation though, you can't really carry it there, and it's going to be something that you have to put on the side. So again, functionalities are definitely there, but portability is still something extra. Now, when it comes down to the Galaxy Z Fold 3, this is a perfect S Pen for that. Again, what it does here is it augments the functionalities that we get with the Z Fold 3. It still doesn't work on the external display. You can only use it on the internal display, so that's a big function there. And the main benefit here is that we get that Bluetooth functionality. Changing devices from one to the other is very simple. You put the pen itself close to the device and press the pairing button. If it wasn't paired before, it'll ask you to connect it, but if it was, it just automatically does the connection for you. And then you just have to hit connect and then basically go through that step. Once you do that, all of the functionalities of the Note 20 Ultra's S Pen are now functional on the brand new Z Fold 3. Without that, you pretty much lose the Bluetooth functionality, meaning you don't have that wireless connection between you and the tablet, or sorry, with you and the foldable. And of course, the functionalities are limited to having the pen actually be on the device. If you try to use any of the other S Pens, let's say the S Pen from the Note 20 Ultra or even the S Pen from the Tab S7 Plus, you are going to get a warning on the display telling you that this is the wrong S Pen and for you to use the correct one. For the most part, it's definitely a step up from what you're getting with the S Pen, and I feel like this is definitely the right one for the Z Fold 3 because for the most part, we want to get all of the functionalities that a Note series get. I feel like the other S Pens that were released are intended to be somewhat close to that experience, but not all the way. The last thing we're obviously going to talk about is how does this work on the Note 20 Ultra, the device that has a built-in S Pen. First and foremost, the Note 20 Ultra has a built-in mechanism so that if the S Pen is inside of the phone, you cannot use other S Pens, meaning the touch sensitivity on there with pen input is disabled when the S Pen is inside. So you do need to take that out. So there's a little bit of a caveat there. I don't think the S Pen Pro is a benefit to the Note 20 series. It can literally mimic everything you're getting there with the exception of the Bluetooth functionalities. And that's for some reason I feel like it only intended to work with new 2021 series and forward. So the Note 20 Ultra will not recognize the S Pen Pro as a Bluetooth functionality because it has already its own Bluetooth connection to the other S Pen. So just keep that in mind. So overall, what we're looking at here essentially is a lot of functionalities added with the S Pen Pro. So now what we've talked about, all of the benefits, how does it work with the different ecosystems and what you can and cannot do, is it worth it at $100? Well, the reality of the matter is there's a couple of things you have to keep in mind. The other S Pens that are released, let's say the one for the Z Fold 3, and then you're getting a case that is a little bit bulky and the function of the S Pen on the side makes the case almost non-usable. Even though you can detach that S Pen, you're still having to kind of work around. My recommendation would be is to buy a case that doesn't necessarily have an S Pen and buy the S Pen Pro. Because of those additional functionalities, you truly get the S Pen experience, and it's actually a much bigger pen. It's much easier to use. It fits in your hand exactly like a regular pen, and the other experiences that we're getting there are limited by the fact that they don't have Bluetooth functionality. As far as charging and the battery life, this thing lasts forever. The problem is obviously we have to use it with a cable charger, and you can't charge it wirelessly from anything. The other caveat that you also want to keep in mind is the fact that you have to carry this separately. The reason I'm saying this is the S Pen on any of the cases that was released for the S21 Ultra or even for the Z Fold 3 are not comfortable cases. It makes it so much more likely that you're not going to use that case or just not use the S Pen entirely. I think that if you really need to use an S Pen, you should get the best experience that Samsung has to put out. If you're more comfortable using the other smaller S Pen because it works on the case and the case makes sense to you, definitely make sure to use that. Overall, at the end of the day, I think that the S Pen Pro is worth it if you're looking to get S Pen functionality on your devices outside of the Note series. This is not intended to replace the Note series as S Pen. It's intended to bring those functions to other devices on the market. Because of the functionalities that we get via Bluetooth, we now actually have the ability of controlling our devices the way the S Pen was intended to. So we no longer have that compromised experience of the generational S Pens that we saw that came with the S Pen, with the Tab S7 Plus, the S21 Ultra, or even the Z Fold 3. All of those S Pens are somewhat limited in functionality. So my hope at the end of this video is that you found something interesting, and of course we learned about all of the functionalities of the S Pen Pro. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the S Pen Pro, and does this make sense for you? Again, if you have an S21 Ultra, a Galaxy Z Fold 3, or even if you have a Tab S7 Plus, this can make your experience on all of these devices much better when it comes to S Pen functionality. This is TK. I'll see you in the next video.